man, you dang phone. There you go.
Turn your volume down.
It's down. It's down. We're just waiting on Mustache. You ready, Precious?
We're good. We good. We good.
You situated? Went and had your
I
little
guess so.
potty break, ready to roll?
Yes. I had my potty break, Joey.
Well, we're live already.
He found his belly button.
No, I'm still looking for it.
Do you have one?
I gotta check.
We're still not live on the YouTubers.
There we are.
Oh, there we are. Now I see. Remember, it only matters what I see here in Texas. It doesn't matter what y'all see.
Where we're seeing it first. I understand.
All right. Does it?
Mm-hmm.
It's where you deserve to be, is in the corner. All right, y'all ready?
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 98. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Matt with Wacky Works, Mustachio with the Wooden Mustache. We're missing our other host, BJ. We want to give some thoughts and prayers to his family, and everything's good. He's not going to be with us tonight, but we're going to move on. And we got somebody special here, and I'll let this go. Woo! FORG3D, Tyler, how you doing?
Doing well, gentlemen. How are y'all?
What an introduction. Good. How's it going?
Going well.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. I think we're all doing good.
Yeah.
On the Sunday. More weekend.
Long weekend. Everybody should be doing well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like another Saturday. It's always great to have two Saturdays. Two Saturdays.
Is.
Yes.
2 Saturdays. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me get back here. Feels like I'm forgetting to do something. I know I'm not. I don't think I am.
Do the intro.
Open a box.
Yeah, we're good.
That's never gonna
happen. I've opened a lot of boxes this week. It's really surprising.
I've seen a few of them too.
Yeah. Some of them didn't wait for that 2-week marination period. They just come flying out. I don't know what's wrong with me. Feeling a little ill.
Excited. Yeah, excited.
Yeah.
No, you're just excited.
It's in the mud.
Uh-oh.
Hey, your wife's chiming in over there.
Just be quiet. we don't. Yeah. She always knows when to come in, doesn't she? It's like
always.
She just. It's like she has radar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you need to go in and listen in. There's something going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it up. Anyhow, Mustache, why don't we get this kicked off? And you're taking the reins today.
Do that. We don't have BJ tonight, so I will be jumping in for him, and we'll start off our segment with this.
What's glue with you? What's glue?
Oh, I clicked it twice.
Good job. One job.
You forgot to take it. You forgot to take it out of loop.
Nope.
No, he clicked it twice.
The loop was off. I clicked it twice. But anyway,
This is worse.
Tyler, this is a little segment we do with what you've been up to over the past week. So we will kick us off with our special guest, Tyler. What do you have going on?
We got a lot going on. I did get to host one of the hosts at the house at the shop yesterday, or I guess on Friday. I came by and saw what we have going. So I was appreciative for Matt and his lovely wife for making it up. That was nice. We had a product launch this week. We had a product launch a couple of weeks ago, so we're still trying to catch up and dig out on that. So that's what we've got going on.
Nice. What about you, Joey? What's glue with you?
Not a whole lot. No, I got a lot of stuff going on. I've unboxed 2 printers. We've been testing them out, as you can see behind me. We're trying out the new Bamboo H2D and the Creality K2 Plus, both with AMS. So been messing around with those 2 printers, figuring out how they work. The Creality has a total. If you're looking at Bamboo Slicer, it's roughly the same thing. Just the buttons are in a different place. So trying to get used to that, figure out how it's used, and each one has their little tweaks and stuff you can do to prints. So I've been messing around with those and looking to my next project out in the shop, which is reconfiguring the new area. Like my wife said, "You're already going to change it again?" I said, "Well, sure I am. It happens." So I'm going to
Does her living room stay the same for the last 20 years?
Yeah, a good point. Yeah. If you're still listening.
Yeah, she's listening. All right.
So,
Speaking of the couch where he's going to be sleeping.
Matt Wackerly we've been going through. He's got my whole shop. Like he's got a few of us, our whole shop's made out on SketchUp. So anytime we want to do some changes, we go in there and we tweak it, and it's to scale. So we kind of figure out what we can fit in certain spots, and it's real helpful when you're laying out stuff. Good thing he knows how to use that, because he can maneuver it pretty quick. So we know what size cabinets we can place. It's all laid out. And if stuff gets changed after we actually do the project, then we go in there and tweak it and get everything to scale again. So, maybe a few months down the road, if we want to change it up, we already know where everything's at. So I'm going to redo my sustainer wall, reconfigure it, basically that whole upper area in that section. So make some room to get all the sustainers organized, and then get ready to make a hand tool cabinet for all my hand tools. So that's what's coming up. That's what we've been kind of working on the last couple of days. And so, yeah, other than that, just messing around in here. Did I show this last week?
No.
I don't know if I did.
That might have been on the after show.
Yeah.
Okay, so this. I know the people that are just going to listen to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see it, but if you go on YouTube, this was printed on the H2D. It's real good quality. I mean, I have no complaints. Now, there could be some gurus out there that might, say that there's some issues here. It's a little rough up here, but I mean, you really got to look at it to see. And that's just standard settings. I didn't tweak nothing. I just hit print. This was just for the red part was almost 14 hours. So then I printed the eyes and the outline, the black outline separate. And those actually did real good on the white part, being that it was, how quick it moves, and how that, I think this is probably like a 16th, maybe.
It was just under a 16th. Yeah.
So it actually did real good. There was no flaws. I mean, all these little, everything's just perfect in it. So it did real good. I'm going to do that same mask on the Creality and see if it can perform the same way. We'll see. I mean, as right now, it's working great. It's printed everything I want, and it prints it just as good as the Bamboo. The test is going to be in the longevity. How long is it going to be able to print good before it starts having issues? That's my question. Because you could look inside that H2D and you can tell that it's quality in there. I mean, it's well built. The linear rails you can tell everything's just heavy duty. It's just it's different. But just to say that K2 is not, it's really, they developed that to compete against the X1C. That was not come out to compete against the H2D. even though it's a bigger platform or bigger build area, it really was made to compete from what the information I've gathered with the X1C. Single head, single nozzle, AMS, and it's working great. So we'll see how long it can perform without having some issues. So anyhow, that's about all I have. How about you, Mr. Wackerly?
I quite honestly, got done with accreditations last week for that. So that was, and I was trying to make it out to see Tyler on Monday, and that wasn't going to happen with my accreditations going on. I was trying hard, and I tried to get it done by lunchtime. I tried to leave by lunch, and finally my wife showed up at like 2:00. She's like, "All right, it's time to go. Whether you're done or not, it's time to go," because it's a long trek out there. We got out there, and it was getting over to his place. It's a smaller compared to what I'm used to being in. My 1,200 square foot, and then getting into his was much more confined, but very well organized. I have to congratulate you on that. I mean, there's everything has its place. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. And that was pretty awesome. I got no. Hey, BJ, nice to show up.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
What are you doing?
So, we left there. I did some castings as well. Got those out. I did a story on that, or a reel on that here recently. Some nice scales and pen blanks. I got out. I'll put those in the store today after we get done with this, and then that's all I've gotten done so far. Really, my wife went out there and turned the pin off each one of them, so that way I can have a comparison on the Etsy store there. Played around with some pucks here from Mr. Tyler. He has a very a great product. I think that was a real good product, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. I got to play with that for a while. I see some things I'm going to be doing with that. So it gives me my juices flowing creatively wise. So yeah, that's all I got going on. How about you, BJ? You got anything going on?
Not really. It's
Right
been
into the fire.
it's been a slow day, honestly.
No, yeah, it sounded like it.
We all good though. I mean, everything's good. Well,
yeah.
I know we don't need to mention it. I just want to make sure we're.
I mean,
obviously.
it's fine. Yeah. Just for those, the reason I was a little bit late. Yeah, my son did roll his truck. Fortunately, he is fine. He's a little sore. Said his back's hurting. Mom's got him at urgent care right now. I figure as more and more of the adrenaline wears off, pain's going to get a little more, but he walked away from it. He crawled out of the truck. So he's fine. The truck, it's driving. It started. That was the amazing part.
There you go.
Good old, Toyota pickups, man. Like, thank God, and
they made commercials about that, BJ, where it rolled down the cliff, or the Loch Ness monster got a hold of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and, paid the price for it. So lessons learned, but yeah, thanks for the thoughts on that. Yeah, he's doing fine. But as far as what's new in the shop, so I did, if anybody's seen my stories, I did get all the ducting in for the new dust collection system. So that tomorrow, I was actually in the middle of filming my intro when I got the phone call. So I got to redo my intro. So that's fun. And tomorrow we're going to start the install. We're going to take down the old stuff, start working on the new stuff. And yeah, that's really all I got going on right now. So.
Awesome. Well, at least he's okay.
He's okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it was, very well built truck, and he went completely over. So
some of you might not be old enough to remember this, but there is a commercial from 1978 on the Toyota R22 motor, and the guy gets in it, and it was an Australian guy. And he's like, "Mate, we can take this thing anywhere." And they just take off in this thing, and I mean, he goes through all this mud and crud and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It just they'll run through anything. Just keep the oil change. Just keep the oil change.
That's pretty much it. So, but yeah, so they just replace a couple panes of glass and put a headlight in it, and it's not going to be pretty, but it's and he's in alignment. We were looking at it. The front tires they're doing this right now.
Wall-eyed. They're wall-eyed.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's drivable. So yeah, those Toyota makes a damn good truck. It really does. I like.
Hey,
it.
you can always replace a vehicle. You can't replace a
100%. And when it's funny. He called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to come over. Probably not going to be able to come over tomorrow for hot dogs for Memorial Day." I'm like, "Okay, like that's cool." And I was like, "Why are you calling?" And he called me from his mom's phone. I'm like, "Why are you calling me from your mom's phone?" He's like, "Oh, because my phone's in a bush somewhere. I can't find it."
Why? Let's start with that conversation.
I was like, "Why?" I was like, and then so it's like, "Well, why is your phone in a bush somewhere?" He's like, "Well, because my truck's in a bush somewhere upside down." That is how you start this conversation. Or, "Hey, I'm okay, but not. Hey, I can't come over for hot dogs tomorrow." I'm like, dude, like.
Teenagers are really good about burying the lead. They really are about good about burying
he was trying to hold off you're okay now. Now you're gonna get a butt chewing after the fact. So he was just trying to prolong that because
all I can say is the butt chewing he's gonna get from dad is nothing compared to the one he's probably getting right now from his mother. So yeah. Mom,
hey, we've all been there. We've all been there.
We've all been there. Yep. So
glad he's okay though. Glad he's okay. That's good.
Well,
that's
let's get into this. I don't
know
what
mustache still has to go.
Mustache. Yeah. Mustache. You got your stuff.
With you?
Let's see. So I built 3 desks. I made a couple mirrors. I did a few end tables. No, I didn't do any of that.
Is that the last 20 years?
That was a hell of a dream you had last night.
I was about to say, yeah. He was in he did that in Minecraft. That's what he did.
Yeah.
I haven't played that in a long time. No, I'm obviously still organizing the shop. I did move everything because I had it all up against the garage door for the past month or so, and I was able to move everything to the back. Got mostly everything off from the French cleat wall that I have on one side, and I've been cleaning that. I'm going to try to keep that from floor to ceiling clear because I was kind of putting like some larger materials and sheet goods and stuff against that wall, which kind of makes the French cleats worthless when you stack stuff against them. So I'm going to try to take full advantage of that. And I got a crap ton of holders to make for various tools and stuff. I am getting a 3D scanner very soon. I think it's going to show up next week. It's the Einstar 3D scanner. So that's going to show up. And I have a few things that I want to scan to make models for and stuff. And either 3D print or, they'll probably make the model for 3D printing. But that 3D scanner is going to be helpful. I had one of the Crealities for a little bit that I was borrowing from Jason. And I scanned a few things. This Einstar, I think, is a little better of an upgrade. And we'll see kind of where I go with that. But yeah, we're getting towards the end of getting everything organized and stuff. I have a few more 3D prints to finish for the spray paint can holders and stuff, and I can get that behind me. And yeah. Be nice to actually use my table saw and the CNC.
You have one?
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, because you ain't seen it in years.
No, I see it. It's sitting there. It's become a what a lot of people use their treadmills for.
Mm.
Not a
Clothes
clothes rack,
hangers?
but
I was about to say,
but
you're
a-
storing
but a
clothes in
catch-
your shop on your table saw? Wow,
Hey, that's what I
a
use
new
my
one.
CNC for. So
it's a
box
catch-all.
station.
It's a catch-all right now.
yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting close. We're getting really close. So yeah, that's about all I got. And I'll pivot off from that right
Pivot.
into thanking our
Pivot.
patrons out there. Let me go and click this guy. Thank you, Joey. So I would like to give a shout out to Scott from Willow Creek Lumber, Don from What's Next Woodworking, Matthew from Artigiano Serio, and Victor from Wim Designs. We thank you and the people in the bottom scrolling on the screen. We thank you immensely for your support. And if you would like to join those folks, we have links on our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Donate whatever you can, and we appreciate it in advance. So
You forgot one. You forgot one. I'm gonna call you out.
Oh, Tyler.
I wasn't going to do it, but you know.
Oh, I will. We jump on opportunities like that.
Yes,
What's
we
wrong
do.
with you?
So
We
Tyler, thank you for your support.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get into this. I'm excited. You got some cool things that you just put out. So how about we start off and give us a little history of your background, how you got started with all this.
Let's rewind the tape, I guess. So now I've always been a tinkerer and a maker. My grandfather. I told Matt this story. My grandfather was a woodworker. Made rocking chairs, and I still have a small rocking chair of his. That we always got those for Christmas and those types of things. And I can remember sitting in this shop, knee deep in sawdust because what was dust collection back then. And helping even with the scroll saw. And I meant, Matt Mustachio, for you, I meant to have my grandfather's scroll saw, which I have downstairs in the shop. I meant to have it right here.
I didn't get to see
where
it.
I didn't. Well, it's under the stairs. It's buried. It's. I just can't get rid of it. But it doesn't hold. It doesn't hold a door open.
Oh, it's holding the stairs up. Then.
There you go.
It's holding the stairs.
Another use for it.
So I've always been a maker, always been a tinkerer, and so when we moved into the house, I guess 13 years ago, so I knew I wanted to build a shop, and so started building the shop back in about 2016 or so, and have really tried to flesh it out and build it out. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess it was right at the back end of COVID, I had a friend of mine come to me and say, "Hey, I need some prototypes built." And I said, "Why do you coming to me for prototypes?" He said, "Well, first off, my guy can't do it anymore because of restrictions, and I just need them built, and you make stuff, so can you make these for me?" And I said, "Sure." And so I priced it for him. He said, "Yes," unfortunately, I guess. I made him a couple, and he took delivery of them, and then he came back and I said, "I need 2,000 of these." And I went, "Tomorrow?" He's like, no, like over the next 3 years. And I was like, okay, we can figure out a way to do this. And so that's what was the beginning of Forged is taking that and starting to build those. And in the process of doing that, had to find levels of efficiency. I joked with Matt. I was like, the first 50 took, I don't even know how long. It took so long to do the first 50. It was ridiculous. And doing all sorts of stuff manually, doing all things the hard way, not thinking of how you batch things and those types of requirements when you're trying to scale. And then over time, kind of figured out that needed better ways to do things, better systems to employ to do things. And in doing so, picking up other prototyping jobs and small batch manufacturing jobs. And so we started adopting like the M89s, which I'm sorry, Matt, as our storage system, and then also printing bins and small things, because when you're prototyping, you don't need a lot of anything, but you need a little of a lot. And so when we're taking delivery of fasteners, and you've got the bins are full size depth, and you've got just like 50 of them in there, and they're small M3, M4, M5. It just made it hard to work with. And so we started making half size bins. And after a while, had all sorts of different half size bins that we'd done for ourselves. We had all sorts of different jigs and different things that we'd done for ourselves. And when I knew that those things were coming to an end, the 2000 delivery, I was like, I want to really make something that I want to make, as opposed to making something that others wanted us to make. And so that's where we started thinking about, is there things that we've done that solve problems for us, and could they solve problems for other folks? And then really trying to think about, solving people's problems in the way they want to use them, as opposed to, here's a problem, here's a solution, and you can only solve it this one way. And so when we started building, taking the things that we'd done for ourselves and then tried to make them products, trying to make it adaptable for any shop, any workflow, any job site. And that's where our SysFit system started coming together. Our SysOrg bin started coming together, and started approaching different folks like Sustainer Store to work with them. And now here we are, I guess, officially about a year and a half later. And our big validation of what we were trying to do was last year at Workbench Con, when we went there, not as a creator, but as a maker, just to try to, meet others in the space to see how we could get an audience or a platform to talk about our products, and had some validation from folks that we knew in the industry that had a good following. And now we're here talking to you guys.
Nice.
Very cool.
It's always great to hear things like that. But you do have some really cool stuff, and I myself, I'm gonna bring it up because I've been looking for things like this, and one thing is affordability, and it's affordable. It's affordable, and that's a big thing, because when you start looking at, let's just get into it. These grip. I don't want to. It's grip.
SysGrip. The SysGrip.
Pod,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. The SysGrip. So a lot of our stuff is, based around Sustainers, the Festool and ecosystem. But we've kind of, especially with our SysOrg products, because those are really tailored to use with the Tanos M89 or L89 system, or even some of the new Sortainers. But we're trying to also adapt to, other things. So we'll work with Festool sanders and stuff with our SysFit. We work, different ways. But when we actually adopted, and Matt and I were joking about this, when we really started moving to Festool a few years ago, I was vehemently, I'm not going to be the Festool guy. I'm not. I'm just not going to be a Festool guy. And I bought a bunch of Bosch stuff, and it was good stuff. But the first time I tried to put a Bosch router on a Bosch rail, I went, there has to be a better way to do this. And so my entry into the Festool ecosystem was actually the OF1400, to do a crap ton of 5mm holes for a pantry build. And because that was the requirement, it had to have a bunch of adjustable shelves, and it had to be done in a really short period of time. And so adopted the OF1400, a dusk, an extractor, and I did buy a domino at that point, because I think you have to. But that was the entry in it. But then I saw the system, and so when we are building our product lines, we start trying to think of it as a system. And so that's where SysGrip came in, is that it's part of a system that allows you to be really adaptable a lot of different ways. And we wanted affordability, because with vacuum work holding, it's not a novel concept. There's a bunch of different things out there that do vacuum work holding. We've got, a full-blown vacuum table on, what's a prosumer CNC. So we have a Onefinity CNC in the shop. And before, there were other options out there. We bought a black box Storm vacuum holding, or a vacuum system for it. And that we fell in love with vacuum work holding then, because it was a requirement. We were working with ABS, and we had to have something that was quickly able to swap in and swap out parts or blanks to be able to do the drilling processes. And so when we found that, we were looking at trying to get a Vaxxis, the Festool system. And about that time is when they discontinued it. And then they went absolutely, skyrocketed in price.
Mhm.
And so we went on this big pilgrimage trying to find a replacement for the Vaxxis. And a couple years ago, stumbled across 4 of them in our local Festool dealer here in northern Atlanta, and I bought all 4. One for me, and I ended up selling 3, not to put my kids through college because I could have done that at the price that they were selling for at the time. But I knew others were on that same pilgrimage of trying to find a Vaxxis. And so I sold them at a small markup, but not anything ridiculous. But then found that I've got to get it out and I got to deploy it. And there's not a good affordable solution on the market. And Vaxxis is a Festool unicorn. And so what really started the development of SysGrip was the shaper plate. So using the shaper in the shop is awesome, but if you're in a big white filled space with the plate and there's no way to clamp it, it can get a little sketchy sometimes. And I was working with a shaper plate, it got bumped and it moved off where it needed to be, and trying to get it realigned was not easy and not fun. So I decided I was going to solve the problem with vacuum work holding. And so that's what started this idea. And I figured if I could get plates built for the side of the shaper plate, I could, make pods for the front of my workbench, that I could make pods for the top of the workbench that were easy to deploy for, a very, myriad of different applications, routing, sanding, just normal hold down stuff. Then, we've had plates, we have pods now that go on the, an FS style rail. So for your track saw, so it'll fit the Makita, the Festool, basically the Festool type track saws. Won't fit the Bosch because the Bosch doesn't have a real good way to attach. But yeah, that's what led to it, is trying to find an adaptable, affordable, and approachable system. That's the other real thing, is not having to go, source a bunch of specialty connectors, or trying to go to McMaster to get special things to do different things like that. You can just, get the pods. We've got most of the little accessories you need. But if you need to source different tubing or different valves or releases or stuff, we can point you in a direction. Hopefully we'll have some of those more in the shop as we go. But right now it's easy to build a system that fits your shop. And then also you can use a Grabo and take it out on the job site as well. So trying to figure out a way that we can fit every eventuality, but not be overly expensive doing it.
There you go. That's awesome. And can you give us like a time frame? How long did it take you? I know you've put out posts where it's the carnage that was left from prototyping, right?
And you also need to tell the story too about how about how it's a family affair.
Yeah. So, so it takes a long time to get from idea to beta to release candidate, typically back to beta, and then back to release candidate, then out to production.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's letting the enemy of good be perfect. This is the thing I struggle with a lot of the time, is trying to get it just absolutely so dialed in and, handle every eventuality. And so I'm lucky enough that I have a good group of guys that I can lean on for advice, and sometimes to, push me along. Steve is one of them. He's in the live stream over here.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of other guys, and they really pushed me to quit trying to get it to perfect, as far as an incomplete system, meaning that you're offering everything on the store, from all the connectors, all the tubing, all the releases, all the valves, vacuum pumps, the whole 9 yards, and get a product that is refined, works really well, and then be able to direct people to the other parts or pieces that they might need to complete the system. Or, in the event that they already have a vacuum pump laying around, be it for, degassing epoxy or for veneer work, or if you have a grabo laying around that you only use when you need to move a piece of wood, being able to repurpose that as a vacuum pump as well. So trying to, push us along, to say, okay, we've got the pods, they work great. We've done as much testing on the pods as we can, but we just don't have the ancillary accessories that we really wanted to have sometimes to just kit it out completely. But I think we made the right decision, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago of putting it out in the market. We showed it to quite a few people back in, I guess, March at Workbench Con. Got some more feedback on that. And so we finally got it released to market a couple of weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, we've had a little bit of chance. Tyler was generous enough to send us some out, and you can go check these out at FORG3D store. Excuse me. They're great. Absolutely, it's just a wonderful product. It looks great, and it's very affordable. And it works very, very well. I've had a few chances. I haven't made any videos, but there'll be some coming out soon. And, just to be able to hook it up to your Grabo. And he also, so just everybody that's out there that's going to listen, if you have a Grabo, you have to have the Pro Lifter, correct?
Correct. Pro Lifter 20,
yes. You can't have the older one, but I think we were talking to Don last night, and he has the older version with the actual gauge here.
You could technically take the gauge out and use the older one, but I would probably recommend, keeping the gauge on there so you can see leakage or anything like that in the system.
Yeah, because it's not the digital, right? So I told him,
correct.
He's developing stuff for the actual, I think, the DeWalt's, aren't you?
Yeah, the DeWalt Grabo. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, he could probably come up with something, or you have a 3D printer to where you can come up with something for underneath. Yeah, a plate underneath that one to be able to use it. Because I think Don's, I'm gonna put it out there because Don's been kind of like, he just wants to talk to you, and you can get him, just tell him what he needs so he can order it. And he's like, I don't want to mess with that stuff. Just tell me what I need and just send it to me. And I said, I'm pretty sure he'll do that, And
a lot of people want, they want this, they want the solution. They're if you're, you don't want to tinker. Some people want to tinker, right? And we get a lot of requests of, hey, will you sell us your files? And we don't worry so much about. We had a request come in not too long ago about, hey, I want to print it myself. I'm like, we think of things not as a part of it, but as a product. And it's everything. It's, how it's put together. It's the settings of the print. It's, the materials that we source. We're not just sourcing the gasket, off of Amazon. We're using gasket that's, purpose built for CNC with specific tolerances, so that when it does compress, it fills the whole gasket, the whole gasket line, and it gets a good seal. And so all of those things kind of put together, 3D printing is sometimes can have a view of you're just producing parts, and it's like anything else. It's a technology that can be used for manufacturing and to produce a product. And that's the real thing that we think about in anything that we do, is really taking, all the pieces and parts together to make a product. It's not just a part that makes, what we're doing. It's really a product. And then also pass that a system, how they work together with different things. So, the pods led to, how do we, mount the pod to a work surface? Dog holes. A lot of people have dog holes. Well, then we're like, okay, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to send people to UJK or TSO to buy, dogs that have, an 8 mil, M8 screw adapter on it. Nope. We're going to develop, our anchor dogs that allow you to drop it in the dog hole, tap it from the, tighten it from the top, and now your pod's to place. Or, even to the point of having, there is no single, extrusion T-nut on the planet that I can find that's easily accessible that fits every extrusion that you might want to work with, be it 15 series, 30 series, 40 series, 45 series, MFT, track tubes, dashboard, whatever you want to find out there, there's not one that will work in all of them. And so we're having those produced so that we can have, T-nuts that go in every rail. So so that we don't have to have 17 different T-nuts, in stock to be able to deliver, or, somebody picks the wrong thing and they take delivery of the product and then they don't have what it needs to work and then they're not happy. So all of those things kind of come together of how we think about as a system so that you can take what we produce, but use it how you want to use it in any shape, form, or fashion. Matt was talking about using it as a vertical work holding and as CNC. And, I've had, other people ask about using it in a lot of different ways. Russell Kasselbach, on Instagram showed it. He mounted a featherboard to it to put on his, to put down on his, one of his tools to hold it down because he didn't want to use a magnet for some reason. And that's what, had somebody in Australia literally reach out when we released the FS rails and said they wanted to cut siding, in a vertical orientation on the side of a house after it was put in place because they ran the siding long. And I was like, okay, how wide's the siding? And they're like, 110 mil. And I'm like, the pods for the rails are 310 mil. And I'm like, so you're going to lose, the vacuum across the joints. So we designed a pod that would work, for that particular application. And he took delivery on Thursday. I haven't got feedback yet. But that's what we're trying to do is say, how do we fit whatever job site, whatever workflow, whatever shop you have, and then allow you to adapt it to your way or come back to us and say, hey, we need something tweaked or tuned. And, if we can adapt it and make it a good product, we'll do it.
Yeah, because with those pods, Tyler, you can connect what three or four together.
It depends on the vacuum. So it depends on the vacuum source. So like with the Grabo, it's about 0.7 CFM. We've had 4 of the smaller pods connected in series with that, and it'll hold a vacuum. The biggest thing there is what substrate your Grabo sitting on top of. So if you're sitting on top of plywood, you have a more porous or a more rough surface where it won't pull quite as hard a vacuum. But if you put that on top of a piece of ABS or HDPE or something that's really slick and you can get an amazing seal on the Grabo, you can run 4 or 5 pods, no problem. If you're running something that has even more CFM, then you can run. We've had 5 or 6 pods running off one thing. And it also depends on what you're trying to do. At the end of the day, it's a tool, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, our storm vacuum, table, that's pulling a ridiculous, negative pressure on something where, across this wide field, because everything with vacuum work holding is about surface area. And so the more you can increase surface area, the better it is. But if you put an unsupported 6 or 8 foot, moment arm on something and start torquing on something, you're going to be able to slide and break the vacuum. But, if you're using it right, they're going to hold anything that you want to hold, pretty well, or you can't move them.
And you're not married. I just want to put out there, you're not married. You don't have to have the Grabo to do this.
No.
Y'all can use a vacuum for that. Let's just say you're you do resin or you do silicone, you got a vacuum chamber. You can get that vacuum, just convert the fittings to fit this system, which is very nice because these are just push the pipe in, push connect. So it's very easily changed up and made bigger. I mean, whatever you need to do. And those vac pumps, you can, they will pull a lot more CFM than a Grabo. What were you going to say, Matt? Go ahead.
Yeah, they're 2.5 CFM is what the smaller one from Harbor Freight is 2.5 CFM, and Mike was just talking about it there. He uses his as well. But yeah, it was more than sufficient. I ran both pucks that we had that you graciously sent us, and I tried them out, and both of them, it was just immediate.
Yeah.
Had
So-
perfect suction.
We tested with a Vivor. Vivor has everything, right? I tested with the Vivor off of Amazon and another oiled system off of Amazon. We've tested with the Rockler vacuum that Rockler has out. We use a VacuPress 300, Compact 300 in the shop. They also have a 150, which is a little bit lower, CFM. I think it's 1.5 CFM. Veneer Supply has a bunch of good options as well. And the good thing about vacuum work holding vacuum pumps is they can be used if you select the right one and you wanted to really expand what you can do in the shop. You can use it for vacuum work holding. You can use it for veneering. You can use it for vacuum clamping. If you have, as opposed to finding every weight and heavy thing that you have in your shop, if you're trying to laminate two things together, there's a lot of things that you can do with that vacuum pump aside from vacuum work holding. But that it's a good gateway drug to really, finding a way that you can incorporate a vacuum pump into the shop a lot of different ways without a lot of difficulty.
Yeah. This is pushing me because I've been looking at getting a instead of using the pressure pot all the time for the epoxy, using a vacuum pot. I was like, well, I had the pressure pots. Why do I need a vacuum pot? Well, now I've got the vacuum pods. It's like, well, I need a vacuum pump. Might as well order a vacuum chamber too while I'm at it. Like,
while you're at it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
come on, it's a few extra dollars. Like, why not? And
Well, for long-term epoxy too, that it helps out. Like if you have like a tabletop epoxy and you were going to use it for casting or something like that, it'll help pull out all those air bubbles first. So that way you're not sitting there for the first 4 or 5 hours just sitting there running your torch on it, But yeah, it's
these are the ones that I'm that really got me really excited. Were the ones for the track saw rails, because you could set these in
place. That's my next purchase. Yeah,
I hate using those clamps. I just hate them, and lots of times I don't use them. And when you're using a track saw, you're in a hurry, and I've already had a kickback before, and I've damaged a rail just because I was being hard-headed and I didn't want to put the dang clamps on, and I was like, and for the most part, those track saw rails, they'll hold with the grip pad that it has on there.
Yeah.
But if you lean wrong or lose your balance, and that's what happened, and that track tipped on me, and boom, it popped out, and it messed the track up. But these,
you had to go change pants too.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there mad at messing up a $150, $200 track that now you have to cut and make shorter to work. So these things, this is genius, because you could set these in place if you're using a 55-inch or whatever you're using, and line it up. Hit if you're using a Grabo, or if you set up a vac pump and you have it on a remote, boom, hit the remote, sucks it down, and you're good to go. And it saves a lot of time of finagling with any of that stuff. I mean, it's just, this one, I haven't used it, but just looking at it, it's going to work fine. I mean, it's great. It's a genius idea.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what's great. And if I'm not mistaken, you could put 3 of these and use it vertically, is what you told us, correct? So if you're doing vertical cuts.
If you're doing a vertical cut, you can take 3 of those. You can take 3 of those, or 4 of the minimus, the small pods, and do it that way. So so like pre-finished plywood is a great example. You put a track down on normal plywood, it holds pretty well. But the moment you start doing those cuts on pre-finished, this fine dust, even if you got an extractor on it, kind of gets under the track, gets on top of that slick surface, and then it can drift on you. And so it was definitely something that we were thinking of being able to drop it in place, line it up, hit the vacuum, boom, it's done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's one thing if you're I'm just working with a sheet of plywood on a surface where I can clamp it. But if I'm throwing my plywood down on foam, how do I clamp?
You're not clamping.
How am I clamping it, right? If I'm, really constrained in where I'm working with it, how do I clamp it? And so, being able to have an approachable and adaptable system so that you don't have to think about, if I'm in this completely white filled space, of how I clamp something. If I'm working on top of a conference room table, doing a critical cut that's in place. I'm doing an inlay on the floor where I need to do a cut or to work with the shaper and I need it to be right there and not move. Those are the types of applications we try to think of, let's come up with something that solves those problems.
That's what I was thinking too. Cause like my main use for a track saw is cutting down large slabs, and I think the last slab I cut down, like I had an onion peel left and that was at full depth with the track saw. You're not making that cut at one swipe. So every time you run the track saw down and slide it back, that track can move just enough to where it could throw your cut off. Yeah, and if you don't want to take the time to clamp, it's like, man, it adds so much more ease. And just like you said, just set the vacuum up, you're good, and it's done. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a solution to, will it solve everybody's problems? No. Is it going to be a perfect solution every single time? No, but it's another tool in the toolbox. It's another way to try to improve efficiency in the shop, or in the job site.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And like you say, portability,
Yeah.
I mean, if let's just say you're one that I know that there's a lot of makers out there that they don't have means to carry a sheet of plywood home. So they usually take their track saw, their cordless track saw, to go cut it out in the parking lot of one of your big box stores just to get it home, and this, it's all portable, battery, cordless. This can help you. You're already struggling trying to cut that stuff out in the parking lot. I mean, this is just makes it easier. I mean, or anywhere, this is I would have to say one of the favorites because I don't have to use those dang clamps. I hate those freaking clamps. I hate them. Because it just takes so much time. And when you're having to make small cuts and repetitious cuts, this is just easy to move it, hit go or hit power on your grabbo. It sucks it down and you cut the next one and you just keep on going. And it's just going to make it so much easier. It's going to make the process easier.
It's also not just cuts. It'll also work with the LR32 system. So if you have LR32 rails, you can throw that on, clamp it down so that if you're doing a big cut of LR32, holes for cabinetry, you can put it in, lock it down without having to get any type of clamping on it, pop it off, move, flip, all that. And that's the other reason somebody asked us, why we didn't make it directly attach the grabbo to the rail. And we had a prototype of that, I'll be honest. But the grabbo is really wide. And so it does limit to where you can place it.
Yeah.
If you're not working with a full sheet of material, then, it can be, it can be very difficult to get on there. And so, our thought process was, okay, let's make something that is as narrow and as small as we can possibly make it. And actually the first iteration was a little bit wider and a little bit shorter, but where we store one of our racks is above a door, and the pod hung down and would get in the way of the door. So we had to go back to the drawing board to shrink it down a little more narrow and a little bit longer to get the same surface area. But, it also adapted. So it was a much narrower profile. So you can put it on narrow stock if you're working with it.
Nice. It's just a great system. And everybody out there, the people that don't watch this, that are going to be listening to, it's very affordable. I know I've compared over the years, just looking at different ones and vacuum style pods, however you want to call them, they get very expensive, and these are not. These are very affordable. You can get into a great system fairly cheap. Don't take my words wrong. This is well built, well thought off, very sturdy. So don't take that as this is a good product for a very reasonable price. So go check it out. And you also offer a lot of other stuff. You want to kind of let us what else you offer on your website, because there's a lot of cool things on there.
Yeah. So one of the other first things that we designed and built was at the Request a Sustainer store was a fit out for the grabbo itself, actually, that an insert system that would go in the sustainer and hold two grabbos. Because grabbos are great, but they're what they come from the factory with for storage is not great. The bag that they have and even the blow molded case that they have is not an awesome solution. So Tim at the Sustainer store had approached us and said, "Hey, can you guys build something for this?" And when we were chit chatting about it, he's like, "I can send you the Grabo for prototyping." And at that point, this is a couple years ago now, and he and I were talking about it. And he goes, "I can send you the Grabo for prototyping." I'm like, "No, Amazon will have one here tomorrow for me," because I'd already saw it, and I was like, "Oh, there's so many things that I could do with this." And so we played with a lot of different ways to build like the fit out for the Grabo. And fit out, what I mean is a storage for inside of a Sustainer. And so we didn't want to do just foam, because if you have a Grabo, if you played with the Grabo, the gasket that it has on the bottom of the Grabo actually comes off. And so if you put it in and out a lot, it can pop it off, it can damage it. And so we wanted a way that we could put it in a Sustainer without having to worry about those things. And we love magnets, so we ended up using magnets to hold it in place, and came up with a solution for it. And one of the things I think Joey, I think we talked about over the weekend, we actually have a fit out coming that'll hold a Grabo and accessories, the pods, so it'll hold the Syscript pods as well. So you'll have a way to store everything together, take it to the job site, take it where you want to work, get out, deploy it, work, put it back in, go back to the shop. So that'll be coming out. So we have SysFit fit outs. We're trying to build up a repertoire. Mustachio, when you said 3D scan some stuff and try to take that and make holders for it, good luck. If you find a good way to do that in an efficient and very, very efficient manner, let's talk, because it is a much harder, circle to square, square to circle than you think it is. Silhouettes are usually a little bit easier to work with, going from to do those things with. So we have the SysFit fit outs. We have our SysFit racks, which are just racking systems for holding different components. So we got sander holders, clamp holders, hose holder, track holders, again, that are adaptable. So they'll fit the front of Sustainers. They'll fit, basically any extrusion profile that you can think of. MFT, normal 15, 30, 40, 45 series track tubes, dashboard. We've worked with Fred at track tubes. We've worked with Rob out at Dashboard PWS. We just got an extrusion from Ralph over at Bench Dogs UK. Sorry, Joey, I know you looked at that site the other day and were cursing me for introducing you to another place to spend money. He just sent over a piece of extrusion. He just sent over a piece of extrusion for us to play with, to make sure that we have adapters for those things. So that's the SysFit system. This week we just released new rail adapters, our accessory adapters for the side of the rail. So our side mount rail adapters, so you can hold dogs, rulers, clamps, little recessed tray to just drop fasteners on. It's magnetic because, again, we love magnets. And then also has what we call our modular pods, our mod pods, to go on the side, because we are gluttons for punishment. And now you can take, and we have different mod pods for the Festool Fast Fix accessories. So the Jacobs chuck, or any of the Centrotech stuff on the sides, router bit holders, Pika stencil holders. We've got an extender for the back for a square. Pika, we love Pikas. We've also got a shaper accessory rack that'll hold the different accessories that you need for your shaper, because the shaper is amazing, but it's got a lot of bits and bobs to it that you have to work with, be it the wrench or the hex or the tape or. And so we made an accessory holder for it. We've got two different versions of it, one for the plain shaper accessories, and then one if you're a crazy person and have two spindles because you're doing production work and you want a roughing bit in one spindle and your automatic tool changer is putting in two different spindles. If you have a shaper and you are in production and haven't done that, it's a great thing to do. Actually, don't do it until probably next week, because they're releasing something this week and I have no idea what it is. So want to make sure that the spindle that you might get works with it. But yeah, we have a lot of different stuff. Our bins, our SysOrg bins, we have in every possible permutation that you can imagine, from 50 by 50 half heights so that they're stackable. up to what we call our bit channels. I showed Matt this when he was at the shop, where it holds, say if you have anchors that require, a screw, an anchor, and then a particular drill bit to drill into the wall to put your anchors. The bin holds all three so that you don't have one of the three parts or two of the three parts, or really the two of the three parts, where you have the screw and the anchor and you traverse from the truck all the way to the job site. Or in my case, what happened, I went from the shop, to the third floor and realized I didn't have the drill bit, and it ticked me off. And so then I went and designed a solution for it. So it holds the drill bit, and it holds, the anchors on each side. And then you just buy a drill bit and drop it in there and just leave it all together. And then if the drill bit's not there, you have one person to blame, which is, yourself. Yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When do you sleep?
Sleep. What is this concept? What is this concept
that
of
word?
sleep?
Jesus.
So I did, Tyler, and I don't know if you can tell this story or not. You tell
Yeah.
me if you can or not. I had a video blow up, and I thought that was something amazing. But you had a product line that blew up, and you were nowhere where
Yeah.
you could be done. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, I can tell the story.
Okay.
So, like I said, last year we went to Workbench Con, and one person I wanted to talk to while I was there, I'd met Jason Bent and talked to Jason Bent a couple times prior to attending Workbench Con. And he was very gracious with his time. And then when, we hung out there, he was amazing. But one person I wanted to try to catch up with was Brian Sedgley. Everybody knows Sedge. If you're in festival adjacent, if you're in the woodworking, and so, Sedge, Sedge is Sedge. He's high energy. He's amazing. He's a great teacher. Great system of knowledge. But he's also, been around and can kind of, he doesn't BS. And so I approached Sedge and I said, "Hey, Sedge, can you got 20 minutes? I just want to show you some stuff. I don't want anything besides your critique or your absolute Brutus honest truth if we're headed in the right direction with things." And so I was just sitting in class. He said, "Sure." And he gave me his number. I'm sitting in class at Workbench Con, and he says, "Hey, I'm downstairs." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "I got to go." Bell in class. Teacher probably was mad. But I had to go see Sedge. And so ran downstairs, went out, got the kit, brought it in. Sedge said, "Yes, we're heading in the right direction. We're doing things the way he thinks we should be doing things." And he said, "Send me some. I want to test it out." And so sending, a bunch of kit, he came back and said, "Hey, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to mention you in it." And I was like, "Great, awesome, dandy, wonderful." And he kind of gave me the time frame that he was going to do it. And I was traveling out of the country, and I thought it was when I was getting back. No, it was the day that I landed outside the country.
God.
And surprise. And the one, if you do 3D printing or you do manufacturing of any type, and you do any type of fulfillment, the one thing you can't ever replace is time.
Mm-mm.
And so it was a very, very busy week of getting stuff made. And we had my sons are my shop assistants and helpers, and terrible employees because they roll their eyes and they know they can get away with it, right? My dad said a long time ago, he's in a family business. He says, the best thing about a family business is, you can tell them to go off and come back to work the next day. The worst thing about the family business is you have to come back to work the next day. So they're panicked, and I'm like, "Guys, don't worry." And they're like, "How do we fulfill?" I'm like, "Don't worry about fulfillment. I'll take care of that at the customer level. Let's just make sure we're getting everything made so that the moment that I'm back, then we can worry about fulfillment. We can worry about the finish process, because again, it's not just a part, right? There are a lot of steps. I put out a reel, I think today or yesterday, that showed assembly of one of our racks. It's simple, but we worry about print orientation, strength, and go overboard on engineering typically. And so there's steps in a process to take it from individual parts to a product to fulfillment. And I'm like, just get everything. Let's get everything produced, and then we'll worry about fulfillment on the back end. And we were very lucky. Customers were very understanding about what was happening, and that we just got overrun with production, and everybody was great about it. And I'm very thankful for Sedge for putting the video out. But boy, I gave him hell. I gave him absolute hell about timing. Let's work on the schedule next time.
Yeah.
It took you what, 3 weeks to catch up?
Took me like 3 weeks to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had orders,
and you left 2 days early.
and I left 2 days early. Yeah. So but it was amazing. We had purchase. We guys, South Africa, Brazil. We had purchasers from all over the place, and so it was eye opening on what it could do. But it's sobering when you're like when you're right in the middle of the storm. So it was nice.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So your phone was just absolutely blowing up when you're landing.
Oh God, it was bad. It was bad.
So your boys know how to start the printers, or you can start.
I started the print. Yeah, the big thing was my OCD's bad. On one of the things when we started doing this is like, okay, I want to make sure that we have the real Tanos colors. I want to have the real Tanos colors, and Matt was joking. He's like, he's never, a lot of people think about the sustainer as Festool, because in North America, that's everybody's exposure to a sustainer.
Mm-hmm.
TTS, the parent company to Festool, also owns Tanos, and Tanos is what makes the sustainers. And so there's a bunch of different sustainers available out there outside of the standard Festool product line. And so I think they offer most of them, but they'll offer them in the light gray and the Festool green. But there's the anthracites. There's a bunch of different colors for the latches and different color customization you can do. And one thing that I wanted to be able to offer was people to be able to do customized bin colors. Maybe the worst decision I have ever made, because it means that there's the number of SKUs that we have. Everything, a lot of things is made on demand, because doesn't, if I produce a head and I say, okay, I'm going to make a lot of this color because it's the most ordered color. The moment I make a lot of that color is no longer the most ordered color. It's this other color over here. And so we try to, make sure that we have that. So making sure we have the right color filament in for production is always, it's never the right color of production filament that's in when we start. So, yeah.
He's coming up with all these crazy guys. I told him there's only 4 colors. There's blue, there's blue, green, yellow, and brown. Okay. And he's like, no, there's sapphire blue, and there's this blue, and this color.
Not realizing.
I completely forgot. And I said, this color to him in the shop. He goes, no, that's like gray. And I went, oh, yeah.
Those are all gray. Those are all gray.
I know Matt for so long, and last night we were working on SketchUp, right? And he's got a color. Everything's colored in my shop because I usually paint all the cabinets red. And we're sitting there going through there, and I'm describing right there, and he's like, can you tell me where that color's at? And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Top row all the way over to the right.
Yeah. I was literally pointing out color sapphire blue. I was pointing out colors to him right there going, because color coding to me is very important in the shop. And I do want to ask Matt a question in a second, but color coding is very important to me in the shop, because I want to be able to glance at a color to narrow down where I'm looking for really quick. So for example, for me, everything metric, be it metric tooling or metric fasteners, is going to have a sky blue or a blue indicator on it, so that I know that box holds metric, or that roll of Vera tools is got blue on it, so that's the metric set of tools, versus having to unroll and go, damn it, that's the Imperials, and roll it back up. So we use color coding that way in the shop. Red to us is going to be standard. Sky blue is going to be metric. Yellow yellow's construction, right? Because everybody, warning signs and everything else, construction. So that's kind of how we think about even the sustainers where we do, more of the lean manufacturing processes. Our project sustainers are going to be anthracite gray versus the light gray that you would see in a standard, darker gray, Matt, darker gray. With a sapphire blue latch, because that indicates to us that's not just a normal sustainer with normal fasteners on it. That's a sustainer that's specific for a particular purpose, so that it narrows down the scope of where we're looking really quick, so we can grab. And also, if I'm having to explain to a teenage boy, hey, I need you to go here to get this, I can just tell them where to go and look, because they have no concept of anything.
No.
But that also has led to a bunch of different things of printing different colors for different bins. And it's always something. So, but Matt, I had a question. So you did go to the shop, and I was very thankful for you and your wife coming up and making the trek across Atlanta, because that is a trek to get up here. But you were like, oh my God, the shop, the size. But I do want to, is there anything that you saw that you would, give tips or points for, especially for folks with small shops, because we have our shop, which is main shop. We have our ancillary shop where some of the robots are. And then we have what we would consider print rooms, where the printers are deployed. One, we don't want them in the shop because dust and other stuff, but also space. So, any pointers for folks with small shops, or specifically what you saw for us?
I know. I think your shop was phenomenal when it comes down to organization and being able to be in one spot and be able to operate several different things at the same time. I really like the fact that you had your vac system where you could just control different pods at different times. I thought that was amazing. The way that you had everything organized, where it was just you grabbed one thing and it had everything right there with it. I thought I was being super cool, the fact that I have a tool, say my bandsaw, and all the wrenches and all the Allen wrenches that are sitting right there next to it. So if I have to work on it, I don't have to go across the shop. You have taken that to a new level, and I think that was pretty cool. And then you had a system that went across the ceiling as well, and it looked like it, and I didn't see it in action, but it looked like it was for like moving heavier things around the shop, is what it looked like it was for.
So the rails, so the rails, so I've got those are the Rockler, I guess the Rockler rails, and they have the rollers on it. So if you're doing finish work or something like that, we have a place to hang some stuff, but also to be able to deploy, I showed you the pulley hose reel. So if we need to put the hose somewhere else, we have another place to hang a hose. But it's just, again, having adaptability in the space, to do whatever we want. We found those, and it looked like a pretty good system to be able to, again, put different things on. And we've got some plans of things that we'd like to release, but again, we would be reliant on a rail system that somebody else produces. So that's something that we're trying to tackle.
And then the fact that you really don't have a need for your table saw. Your large table saw. My
larger table saw. So if I'm making furniture, something with 5/4, 8/4, we can get it out and we can use it if we need to. But if I'm doing cabinet work, I'm going to try to do everything I can with a track saw. We're going to break stuff down outside the shop because we just can't bring a whole 5x8 4x8 sheet or a 5x5 sheet into the shop. So we can break it down and then do all the necessary operations inside the shop. But then we did buy a CSC 650, the Festool small sustainer saw. Two reasons. One, doing a cabinet job for a family friend, and need to be able to do some fitment work on site. And two, it's a tool, and who doesn't like buying a new tool? But also so that I could have a small compact table saw that was very accurate out to do small detail work without having to exercise the whole table saw out of the out from its storage location, get it up, get it hooked up, and it's made me do less sketchy cuts, because if you have to deploy a saw to do a safe cut, sometimes you're more apt to go, hey, I can do this on the miter saw. Sure, what's the worst that could happen there? I don't know.
Famous last words.
Exactly. Yeah. So but it's amazing little. It's an amazing little saw of what it'll cut. But you can do a lot of detail work with it, and it's kind of funny to have another small table saw in a small shop to be able to not have to deploy a big table saw, but it has increased the efficiency. It's on a mobile cart. Everything in my shop's mobile. And I can roll it out of the way if I needed to deploy the big one. Yeah, it's nice to have.
The other one is the fact that, and I tried to do this at my shop. It's not as easy. I'm taller, which, I mean, you're as well.
Yeah.
It's taller. I keep everything about 42 inches.
Yeah.
Is my bench heights, because I don't like to bend over. I don't like to. And so it looked like everything you had in your shop was the same height.
Yes. Yeah. So everything's about the same height. So you can use other things for support.
Yep.
You saw, I did the ubiquitous, flip top cart for the planer. And it's at the same height as my as my workbench. So I can use it as, I didn't show you, also have on the far side of the bench. I might have the far side of my main bench actually extends out. It's actually on rails where it'll extend out to give me additional outfeed support should I need it. The new CSC 50 cart is set so that it can, the workbench can be used as outfeed. Now, I'd say that went out without a hitch, but I did build the cart the first time where the cart was the same height as the workbench, as opposed to the CSC 50 being the same height as the workbench. So I did end up having to cut the brand new shiny cart down, the height of the CSC 50, because everybody makes those kind of bonehead mistakes in the shop, and you're your own worst critic. But trying to get everything at the same height so that you can easily work between that. And it's another reason that I also haven't changed the table saw, because like the shop, the saw stop and stuff is actually a little bit shorter than the saw I have in the shop right now. So I'd have to build some type of lifting assembly or something under it to get it up so it would be the same height as my main workbench.
That's why everything's at 42 inches for mine, is because I have a 1948 table saw, and it didn't come with dust collection, because I guess they didn't care about it back then. Didn't care. Who knew? So I built 6x6s up underneath it, so I could build a 4-inch port up underneath it and funnel everything down to it. That gave me my 42-inch height, and that's where I stay at.
Yep, makes sense.
Well, so and that's my biggest issue with the saw stop, is they are so freaking short. I did the same thing. Yeah, I had to put 2x6s underneath it to raise it up, to the height. Because I'm only 6 foot tall, but if you try to use that thing all day long, like you're hunched over.
Oh,
and all the other tables in my shop are higher. And it's inconvenient for, like, if my daughter comes out and wants to sand on something, she's got to use a step stool. But I'm in there more than she is. And and half the time she ends up just climbing up on the outfeed table and doing what she wants to do anyway. So she's fine. But that's one thing I never got, is like, why did they build the saw stop so freaking short?
Yeah, it's really short comparatively.
Yeah. I built little stackable. It's not stackable, little pedestal, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
In my shop, because my wife works in there with me, and you saw she's only 5'2". So
she's saying like this.
Exactly. So that she's not pushing things through the table saw like this, I built her a little bit so she could move around.
If it's over her head, then kickback's not as dangerous, because it'll just just right back over her head.
She's just got to watch out for the pancakes. The pancakes usually get her.
Just hold on for one more day. Just hold on for one more day.
Are you still milking that?
Oh, I got her today. Like
a little farmer, baby.
Hey, when they got me with that backsplash, it's on forever. This is an ongoing thing. Don't give me ammunition, So any moment, any chance I have, it's on.
So Tyler, I wanted to say one thing when Matt brought it up. So when he was talking about the track on your ceiling, is that the 4 foot ceiling track system from Rockler?
Yeah,
that you were talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of great accessories for it that allow you to do a lot of interesting things. Again, hanging stuff when you're doing finishing work. Hanging different accessories, hoses. Getting things up out of the way. For content creators, it can be rigged up really well to be able to get overhead shots from a camera. So
I was
it's
thinking
one-
about like taking. I made a Wobie. I made one of the Wobie like camera jigs.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about putting that, and I looked at like track lighting and everything. I didn't know Rockler actually sold that ceiling track system.
It's a nice little system. It's plastic. It's easy. It's relatively affordable for Rockler. And then, like I said, it has a bunch of different accessory mounts that you can get for it. Like I said, we have a little pulley where our hose actually goes on because we don't have the ceiling height for a boom arm, which I'd love to have in the shop hold the hose. So I actually have a pulley that my hose sits over top of, so that I can run it back over, and it kind of the weight of it will pull the hose back out of the way. One of the reasons I haven't released it as a product is because I'm relying on other people's tracks to be able to do that. So I'm trying to find a good solution to address that need. It's not something that would be easily. I don't want to have to do C channel or strut channel or something, unistrut, because that would be heavy and a little be really rigid. I mean, you could do a lot of really amazing things off of it. That's it's trying to fit into the space. I think everybody runs into this, even if you've got a big, massive shop. You're trying to fit in the space you're in. So that you can find some level of efficiency, either to make it more enjoyable to be in the shop if you're just a hobbyist. But if you're trying to do production, it's always the wrestling of finding that efficiency.
But and you bring up a good point, small shop versus big shop, right? I'm always amazed how a smaller shop, they come up with the most unique ways to get organized and store stuff. And that's what I really like to see and get ideas like what y'all do, because when you get into a big shop and you're like, I got plenty of room. And before you know it, you just have a bunch of junk everywhere and it's not organized, right? Yep. Kind of what I'm fighting is trying to get everything organized and like certain tools all in one area, but trying to figure out the best possible way to make it look right. Cause I'm one that it's got to look right. I just don't want to throw things together. Right. I'm not a production shop, but I want my things to look right. When I present them, they look good. And it's like that wow factor. That's what I want. That's what I like. Yep. Kind of like just all the little organizational things. Everything's got its place and it looks nice. I mean, we were looking at shops the other day, and I'm going to forget the name because as Steve and I were going through them, Steve I, and it's that shop. I could have spit it out if I would have been thinking. But anyways, that shop is it's a big shop, but the guy just like, I haven't seen yours. I've just seen bits and pieces, but everything is organized, labeled, and just absolutely amazing how he's got everything set up.
Oh, you're talking about.
Look, now
both you're talking about.
No, there's three people that don't know the name.
Yeah, I just because I've seen the entire shop tour video, and it's like a 2-hour long shop tour.
Steve, chime in. Where's Steve?
Oh, he's working. He's working.
Oh yeah, he's working.
It'd be something good in the after show to come up with it. But I mean, that shop is so amazing. But do we have some questions, Matt, in the chat that we need to go over? Is there?
We did.
Mike.
We did have a question from Mike.
Cease and desist question. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So Mike asked, "Have you ever gotten a cease and desist letter from a company?"
No. No. I guess I don't know if it's directed towards me. No, I've got a pretty good working relationship with Sustainer Store. So Sustainer Store was purchased by Sustainer Systems, which is the actual Tanos here in North America. And I've got a good working relationship with them, because to them, them wanting to increase what Sustainer is in the US US and Canada past just Festool. If you think about tool storage and those type of things, you really, most people immediately go to pack out, right? They'll immediately think pack out. They won't think of Sustainer unless they're thinking of Festool. And so they want they really want to build an ecosystem that, can be, sustainer, can be recognized in the marketplace. And that's one of the things that they're partnering with Bot more to try to do, fit outs for vans and those type of things, and try to expand expand things into the market more. And
Like contractors and stuff. Oh,
yeah. So it's, I think, we haven't gotten it. But yeah, we're not trying to say, we're still small potatoes. So, I don't, we probably haven't raised the ire of anybody that would come at us. But I have had conversations with Chris Devlin over at Sustainer Store. Great guy. Absolutely great guy. And they're an interesting set of guys to work with. And look forward to continuing the relationship we have with them.
Fleetswood Shop is the name of that. Fleetswood Shop.
Oh yeah, big. Yeah,
that is a super amazing shop. I mean, it's wild what that gentleman did. There's a lot of inlays in his cabinetry.
Oh yeah, everybody's saying that. Yeah.
That thing is pretty amazing. But yeah, go ahead.
So when I say small workshop, okay, I don't know the measurements of your workshop, but I was just kind of judging it with my arms when I was walking behind you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's about 10 feet wide at its widest point is what about that, but 10 or 11 feet.
Yeah. About that. Yes.
Yeah. And then it's probably close to 25 feet long.
Yeah. Yes.
Two different, but it's two different rooms.
It's roughly, yeah. So it's, well, the back room, it's got all sorts of stuff in it, but yeah. So it's a deep 1-car garage, I would say is the best way to, 2 1-car garages, something like that.
It's
back to back.
It's pushing width on a car garage, but in that one room in the back is completely, packed.
Yes.
With a CNC.
Yes.
Laser.
Yes.
Laser.
God.
Laser.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Completely packed. And dust collection system.
Yes.
What else you got in there?
Offcuts.
And
how the hell can you fit anything else in there?
I'm telling you, it was
and a lumber rack behind the lasers, which is not a great place.
And his CNC is completely enclosed.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's a tight.
That's the size of this office.
Literally, your office dimensions, that length. That's it.
Yeah. Well, this is 12 foot wide.
Correct. And the total length. That's it. That's his shop.
And the back shop. The back part of the shop's about 3 foot. The back part of the shop's about 3 foot narrower than the front part of the shop because where the front part of the shop doesn't have the stairs. In that part of the shop, the back part of the shop has a staircase. That takes up. No. Yeah. So
that's the whole shop, Joey. That's the whole shop. Just that length.
That's about half the size of my shop, and I've got all that same stuff in there, and I'm out of room.
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying I'm not out of room. I'm not saying I'm not out of room. I'm just saying
he wishes he had took some more space, but I'm telling you, everything it didn't seem like I'm kind of a bigger guy, as you know. It didn't seem small. Yeah. Hush your mouth. Okay, but it didn't seem small. It really didn't. Like there was room. Like we were having a conversation and still we weren't over there kissing each other. It was like, we had distance there. And it was
sure you weren't.
You like my shop, I like your shop.
What happens in the shop stays in the shop. You know what I mean? But anyway, there was still distance there. You could tell there was, if you were working in there, you had room to work. Now, are you working on 4x8 sheets of plywood? No, you're not. No. You're not. You're breaking that stuff down before you get it down there. And that's one of the things I asked him too is, do you have room? Do you have a place to get the, because you ain't coming on that staircase.
No,
with all that.
So you can come come around to the shop, and that's hopefully Matt and I talked about this one thing. If we can continue the growth of the company, is to get more space for growth of the company side of things, but also for the shop side of things. It opens up more avenues and opportunities to what we want to do. Some of the things that we want to do with fit outs for sustainers requires foam. Foam takes up a lot of space. that is a hard thing to store, and, I have a good supplier for foam, but I have to buy it 4 foot by 8 foot by 4 foot tall buns of the foam.
Jeez.
Whoa.
And now I can get the foam in any thickness I want, to build that 4 feet. So it could be, a bunch of 4-inch, sections of foam, 4 foot by 8 foot. It could be a bunch of 1 inch, but I got to buy an entire pallet 4 foot by 8 foot by 4 foot tall to get the foam. And, then, there's the breaking down of the foam. If I don't have a full, 4 by 8 or 5 by 10 CNC, then you got to get it down to a workable size to get it. So it's a whole thing of, how can we grow the business? How can we, so that we can be more creative and, not just for us, our creative juices to be flowing or our maker juices to be flowing, but to address the problems that people have or things that they want produced that they can't, that they can't see from, any of the bigger guys to be able to do. We want to be able to do it for you.
And here's something even crazier than all that. Okay. You talk about these large things. One of the most amazing thing I've seen in his whole entire house is what he's sitting at right now. Okay. He just, yeah, there it is right there. His desk is, you can see the shelves back there in the background on the right-hand side. It looks like it's all at least 1/4. Okay.
Yeah.
At least 1/4. His desk is the same thing. And then it's done in steel bars, the whole thing, the steel piping. And
nice.
It's literally, he's got like, a 10-foot desk and it's, 36 inches wide. And I'm thinking, where the heck did you cut this? Where did you do everything at? So, because it wasn't in that shop.
Yeah, it was. No, it was. So I got this. So this is how my projects go off the rails. And I told Steve I'd tell another story, but I'll tell that one second. I'll tell the desk story first. So I'm big on if I'm working in a space, that space to be set up for the work that I'm doing. And I don't like to change working environments. So for example, at the jobby job, my old office, I bought a widescreen monitor, when I had to go into the office every day. And so I was working on a widescreen monitor, but when I'd come home and work at my home office, I'm using something different. And so it completely changes, how I'm interacting with the space that I'm in and what I'm working with. So I was like, I'll just get a widescreen monitor for the house. But when I'm at my home office, I also need to be doing a lot of different stuff. So I wanted to have 2 flanking monitors on each side of my main monitor, which were 27 inches. And it made a 34-inch widescreen in the middle and 2 27 inches flanking it makes for a very, very wide surface that you have to work on. So at first I just put a piece of MDF down on my original desk, but that wasn't just going to do it. So I decided that I would build a desk. So I went out and got a bunch of reclaimed lumber, cut it down, joined it up, built it. Now I couldn't build it outside of build it outside and bring it in. It had to be assembled inside the room because it will not leave this room. It will not fit through that door. So it was all made with 2-inch black pipe and then I don't know if you key clamps, have the hex joints so they tighten down so that you can really move it around. Those are amazing. It's like grown up erector set, right? It's the best thing ever.
It's like all the IKEA stuff, right?
No. Key clamps. They're big monster, like for safety. They build safety scaffolding and stuff out of them and put them together, and they're ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
KEEKLAMPS. Key clamps, I think is what called. And so they're like adult erector sets. They're so much fun. You can build all sorts of stuff with them. And so I have also a propensity to get things a little too tight a tolerance to make things fit sometimes. So of course, trying to get these, pieces of wood in place, drill the holes perfectly where they need to be so that they align up, because there's columns of pipe that come through the tables, 2.5 inches thick. It was a whole ordeal. And of course, then I get my monitors in and it's great. And then monitor glare protection is completely different than what was on my monitors before. And you can see I have windows back here. So I had to get solar shades that go up. And if you're going to do solar shades, you might as well automate those solar shades, right? Because why not? So, literally buying a 34-inch widescreen monitor turned into monitor, full new desk build, full desk reorg, solar shades. It just turns into every one of my projects kind of goes off the rails like that. And the next project that goes to plan will literally be the first project that goes to plan, because invariably the scope creep is a real thing in my projects, my shop, and even in my products. Scope creep goes just beyond most of the time. I'll tell Steve loves the story. Well, he does. He made fun of me because it wasn't that cold. I was printing. I had a job. I picked up a 100-part job where I was making some caps for a construction company to go on top of an architectural element that they had furred out and built out, and it wouldn't take any standard caps. So we're producing caps, and we're producing caps in ASA carbon glass fiber, ASA glass fiber, and ASA. If you've ever printed it, doesn't smell good, and so we're trying to evacuate the print room, for health reasons, make sure that we keep that out of the print room, but also so it just doesn't stink up things. And so I've got a chase from where my print room is across to the shop, which is on the exterior wall. And so I get everything inside run because it's cold outside, and it's like going to be the coldest day in Atlanta, which can be cold. And this is like right at Christmas time. And not Massachusetts cold, okay, but cold for us Southerners down here. And I think I have everything in place, and then I go out and I drill a hole in the side of the house through the shop, and then I take the vent assembly and I shove it through the hole. And when I shove it through the hole, there's literally like a 1/4 inch of the vent pipe that makes it through siding, sheeting, drywall. Everything. There's like this much sticking out, and I'm like, oh no, because it's going to start snowing soon. It's like literally 6 degrees outside. I mean, it's as bad as you can get for here. And so I'm like, oh God, what am I got to go to Home Depot and get an adapter or an assembly to extend it. And I'm like, no, I can just 3D print it. But as you know, nothing in 3D printing is fast. So, I'm like, and this is late in the evening already, and it's got to be a pretty big diameter and pretty deep assembly to get all the way through. And so I'm shoving stuff in the hole and waiting for it to get done printing, which it finishes at like 2 a.m. And I'm outside with an impact driver mounting my freaking vent to put the vent pipe on. And my neighbor to this side over here is we're not, neighbor this side's great. Neighbor this side, probably I'm drilling at 2 a.m. is probably one of the reasons that he doesn't like me sometimes. But yeah, like I said, first project that goes to plan is the next one that goes to plan is the first one that goes to plan. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, boys, we need to take this into the after show. Go ahead.
Real quick, just to give everybody an update, just to calm all concerns. Just got a text message. The kiddo's fine. He's sore, no broken bones, no concussion. He's sore, and I'm pretty sure come tomorrow when his mama finally lights into him, he's going to be even more sore. So, but he is okay. So
there you go.
Just so
he's okay
for now. Yeah, I mean, we might be planning a funeral in the next couple of days. So,
I broke 5 wooden spoons.
Yeah.
I do leather work if you need a belt, by the way. Just saying.
No, wooden spoon will work fine.
You can make that on a scroll saw, right, Mustachio?
Yeah.
I make 4 at a time. Yep.
3 hours tour.
Just as long as you got about a year, we'll be good.
Anyhow,
let's go to that after show.
All right, everyone. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us Sunday. Tyler, thank you for taking the time and being with us. Go check out all of Tyler's links down below in the description. Follow him. FORG3D store on Instagram and go buy you some of those products. Link in the bio, as
Link
Steve
in
would
the
say. Link in the bio. Anyhow, please be sure to head on over to
Link in Steve's bio.
see, yeah, there you go.
Steve's like, no.
Please remember to head on over to the podcaster on Spotify or Apple and leave us a review. I want 10 stars.
10
I
of them.
need 10.
10
But
of them.
and please make sure to leave us a thumbs up on this show. And if you feel it in you to give us some support, please head on over to patreon.com/Creative Makers Podcast. Running out of air, I need to learn. Whew. Anyhow, until next week. And we're getting close to that 100th giveaway. 100th
Mhm.
episode.
Two
We'll
more.
be there. And we're going to have some great prizes, some great companies. And until next week, same time, same place, same beautiful faces. Bye-bye.